Sorry to break it to you guys, but ReZero is mid.
ていろ俺が必ずお前を救ってみせ
Sorry, what I meant to say is ReZero is peak fiction. ReZero has undeniably become my favorite series of all goddamn time, and with the absolutely fantastic news of a third season being in production, which I've patiently waited for so long for this moment to come, thank you White Fox and thank you Tappy, I found this to be the perfect time for me to cook up a video that I've had in the back of my mind for a while now. Now, despite my abundantly clear passion for this show in every single regard, whether it's the storytelling of the characters, the fucking soundtrack, just everything about it, I am well aware that the show is jammed full of important details that you most likely will need to know moving forward in the story. So my idea here is to gather up all those impactful events within the series and leave them all in this one semi-short comprehensive summary video. So my goal here is just to get everyone up to speed about what's going on, so that when Season 3 finally does release, everyone will be all on the same page, and you'll know everything you need to know. Do take note that this is part 1 of a 5-part series here on the channel, where my goal is to cover all 4 of the arcs, but I'm splitting Arc 4 into 2 because it's quite long. But yeah, here we are starting with Arc 1, and I'm going to go on, make videos for the rest, and cover everything that I need to know. Also, if you're worried about me taking details from like the novels and stuff, I won't be doing that because I, for one, haven't read them. I'm an anime-only watcher. So yeah, you're in a safe place here. No spoilers. Don't worry. While we're on the topic of spoilers, a little redundant to say it when the title of the video literally reads summary video. But if you're like this guy here on screen and you have not seen ReZero in its entirety yet, all of Season 1 and 2, I'm gonna need you to close the video real quick and go do that, because you're just robbing yourself of experiencing this absolute masterpiece for the first time. And I do plan to spoil all of the significant events in Arc 1 in this video. So yeah, no more warnings. You signed up for this by staying on this video, so don't you dare come crying to me. And let's just get this started. Series kicks off with our protagonist, Natsuki Subaru. Yes, I know, Mr. and Mrs. Commenter. It's actually Subaru Natsuki because Japanese they read it backward. But shh, listen. After hearing every single character in the show say Natsuki Subaru over and over and over again, you can't just expect me to say it the other way. So just get off my back, okay? Anyway, series starts. He's shopping at a convenience store. Yes, I know, not very interesting. Please, just trust me a little bit here. Just trust me. It'll become important later, probably, most likely. Nah, you know that feeling where like you like rub your eyes so hard that you can see like shapes and colors and stuff like in your eyes, and it feels like you've like transcended space-time? Yeah, so bro just did that, and he opened his eyes and he was in a whole goddamn new world with carriages and dragons and lizard people and shit. And wait. So what the hell just happened? Well, I, for one, am not exactly sure, because it hasn't been revealed to us yet. But, looks like I'm gonna have to wait until I'm the ripe age of 50 before I get an answer, because that's probably how long it's gonna take for all this to get animated. But, thank you anyway, White Fox. I appreciate you. Now, this guy on screen right in front of you, you might not believe this based on how, drippy he is, but, he's a fucking nerd. He's a real nerd. So, him getting sent here, all he can think is that he has some godlike protagonist powers from all the garbage trash isekai he's watched. So he goes around doing his thing before he comes to the realization that he's actually just a fucking loser. And he has no powers at all. After wandering around the city for a good little while, he eventually ends up in an alley by himself. And of course, that's when these 3 Looney Tunes ass looking goons come and try to rob him. And amidst all that, this random short little midget runs past, and she completely disregards the situation and just moves on her merry way. Subaru, being the absolute giga chat he is, starts absolutely pummeling these motherfuckers, and then, oh, wait. No, he had a knife. Makes sense. At that moment, where it seems that he was surely just going to continue to get his ass beat, a silver-haired elf, who later introduces herself as Satella, appears and saves him from his attackers before he passes out from all the pain. We're also introduced to this thing that goes by Puck, and it is a spirit that's contracted with Satella, which makes her a Spirit's Arts user, and acts as her guardian of sorts. Now, do me a favor and take a good hard look at this man right in front of you. Now, do you think he's ever had a genuine interaction with a woman? Now, if you answered yes, you're stupid as hell. Because this guy, being an absolute loser, who chases after the first woman to give him the time of day, runs over and offers to help Satella look for something, which is her insignia that was apparently stolen from her a couple seconds before. Yeah, you remember that short little midget girl? Yeah, she took it. Subaru and Satella then run into the Appa guy, who apparently is named Katamon Rish, even though I don't think that's mentioned anywhere, but hey, cool little piece of info. And he eventually tells him that Felt is off to the loot house in order to sell off Satella's insignia. As they begin the long journey to the slums, we learn that Puck is not able to stay materialized for too long because as a spirit, he needs to rest to regain his mana. So he goes back inside of Satella's crystal to recharge, and we learn that Satella is really a half-elf, which, surprisingly, doesn't bother Subaru at all. As night falls on Subaru's first day within this new world, they arrive at the scene of the loot house, where he finds the fresh corpse of an old man inside, and subsequently has his gut slit open by an unknown attacker. Satella then follows him in, and unfortunately, she suffers the same fate, and within his last final breaths, he grabs her hand and vows that he will save her. Then, in a strange twist of fate, Subaru then awakes back next to the Appa guy, in broad daylight, as if nothing had ever happened. Although he was completely and utterly confused, the first thing that came to his mind was Satella, and he was worried about what would happen to her if he wasn't back at the loot house. So he rushes back towards it, before these goddamn 3 losers are in the goddamn alley again. Are you kidding me? However, this time, bro was a new man, and he proceeded to give these 3 men an ass whooping that they have never experienced in their life, and continues rushing towards the loot house. As he arrives at the loot house, he opens the door to find that old man whose corpse he had just seen mere minutes ago open the door for him and invite him inside. The old man, who goes by Old Man Rom, then tells Subaru that Felt will be arriving in a couple hours in order to trade. So Subaru decides to wait for her so that they can negotiate and he can return it back to its owner. As the trade negotiations begin, a mysterious other woman arrives to bid against Subaru, but his flip phone, which is a Metia in this world, wins out in the trade. Subaru then, like an absolute idiot, tells them all that he intends to give it back to its owner, and that mysterious woman, who reveals herself to be Elsa, then lashes out and kills everybody present in the loot house, including Subaru, with minimal effort. However, once again, to his surprise, he finds himself stood in front of the Appa guy again, amidst the middle of the day, and unable to shake off the strong feeling of deja vu. This time, he sees Satella walk by, but as he goes to call out to her, all of the citizens stare at him in horror, and she reprimands him for falsely calling her by the name of the Witch of Envy. Subaru is left feeling confused, as he's unable to discern why Satella would lie about her real name like that. But amidst all that, Felt runs through the crowd and proceeds to steal her insignia. Subaru rushes after her, but is once again stopped by these 3 thieves once again. While trying to defend himself this time, however, Subaru makes a slight oopsie, and he gets stabbed and bleeds out on the concrete. Subaru wakes up again, back in front of the Appa stand, and he finally comes to a realization that every time he dies, he manages to be sent back in time, and everything is suddenly reset. He decides to name this ability Return by Death, and considers to himself of selling off all of his rare possessions that he has and just starting a new life for himself. But he realizes in doing so, he'd be dooming both the half-elf who claimed to be Satella, as well as Old Man Rom and Felt. Subaru concludes that the only way to save them is for him to change the future, to prevent their deaths. When he runs back through the alley, he's once again stopped by the same 3 thugs, but this time he uses a small detail from one of his past loops, and he calls for help, and arrives as swordsmen. The thugs run off in fear, and we're introduced to Reinhard van Astria, who introduces himself as the Sword Saint, exuding an aura of power that has never been felt before. Subaru considers asking Reinhard to come to the loot house with him, but he decides against it since he doesn't wish to involve others in his problem anymore. On his way back to the loot house, Subaru has a tense encounter with Elsa, where she reveals to him that he's unable to properly conceal his anger and his fear. After that small exchange, they continued forward, and Subaru arrives at the loot house, and he rushes to convince Felt to trade for the insignia in the hopes that they can complete the trade before Elsa arrives at the loot house later that evening. Felt refuses, however, and the silver-haired elf then arrives at the scene as well, searching for insignia. This implies that Subaru most likely slowed her down a good amount by tagging along. Amidst all the arguing between the half-elf and Felt, suddenly, the elf is attacked from behind, and Subaru calls out to Puck to protect her. Luckily, he was just in time, and now follows a long battle between Elsa and all the residents of the loot house. After a long battle, Puck eventually reaches his exhaustion point, and mentions to the half-elf woman that he will act according to his contract should anything happen to her. Later on in the fight, Subaru finally gets a burst of confidence to protect Felt, allowing her to escape from the building before all is lost. Felt, running off in a frenzy calling for help, eventually returns with Reinhard in tow, who then decimates the entire building in a singular sword swing.
Legalize nuclear bombs.
Brutally injuring Elsa and forcing her to retreat. After making it through the night with no casualties, Subaru then asks for a reward, which is one singular thing. He asks for her name. The half-elf then reveals that her real name is Amelia, and he's left feeling satisfied at all he has done. Unknown to everyone, however, Subaru suffered a fatal blow to his stomach, and he passes out from the blood loss while on death's doorstep. Felt then goes to return the insignia to Amelia, but Reinhardt notices a reaction between the insignia and Felt, and he demands to take her back to the royal capital of the city, without asking. The arc then comes to an end, with Amelia deciding to take Subaru back to her mansion, and Subaru's first day in Lagunica finally coming to a close.